Fire erupts in the Gambell Heights shantytown community.
ZNS News there as residents beg for help.
Please, 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 please help me, please.
And fire officials say arson is not being ruled out.
Community leaders say more needs to be done.
This is a reflection time for the Haitian community. They have to recognize they must function legally in this area.
We'll bring you all those details coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Comprehensive coverage, which starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Residents in the Gambell Heights shantytown scrambling to find shelter after a fire rips through their community. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Police and fire officials are investigating that fire. A fire that comes just days after a demolition exercise in that Haitian shantytown community. The fire reportedly erupted last night, and as Janae Noel Ferguson tells us, the blaze continued into this morning, destroying even more homes.
Please, please help me, please.
Cries of distress from residents of the Gambell Heights community displaced after government began the demolition of the area and fire ripped through the community Sunday evening. Another blaze erupted on Monday morning. Besma Avery says she had her belongings packed to leave the site when the fire erupted again around 5 a.m. She became emotionally distraught, claiming that the fire highlights a bigger issue. As an illegal migrant, she has no home here in the Bahamas or in Haiti.
No house Haiti, no house Bahamas. Where him left now? I say, I get more stress. I can't go again.
Firefighters worked throughout the morning to quell the blaze. Officer in charge of the fire branch, Superintendent Walter Evans, said the fire started last night. He insisted that arson is not being ruled out.
At this stage, we do not have a cause for this place, but we are not ruling out arson at this point. And we will continue our investigation into this matter.
While residents scrambled to salvage whatever items they could to take to their new home, wherever that may be. Now, one community church leader claimed they were not warned to leave despite government issuing notices. They also made allegations of their own on how the fire started.
So the man who collected the rent from this property, you believe, was the person who set fire to this area?
Yes, because some people saw him.
Immigration and police officials were also on scene. Officers from the Social Services Department explained how those impacted will be assisted.
These would be coming into the centers, which will primarily be Robertson Road Center. That would be responsible for this particular boundary. And they will try and see how they can relocate them possibly in another shelter. We definitely would need persons who would have permanent residence or have the right to remain in the Bahamas. But you have to understand, too, that not all the persons in Gambell Heights are Haitians or foreign nationals without status. We do have Bahamians who are residing in this point.
Now, president of the Haitian Pastors Association said the message must be clear to those residing in the Bahamas. They cannot live here illegally.
They come in here, they must collaborate with the Bahamian system, because when they do something illegal in this area, they will pay for that.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, it's official. The Cellular Liberalization Task Force announcing the successful bidder in the Phase 2 Spectrum auction. That company will now advance to the next stage, which is to satisfy the final preconditions for licensing. Two companies, Cable Bahamas Limited and Virgin Mobile Bahamas Limited, had moved forward to the auction phase, which wrapped up last month by the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority. Clint Watson reports tonight on the outcome.
A little more than 2 weeks after Phase 2 of the cellular liberalization process resumed, the called the auction, the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, IRCA, has advised the minister with responsibility for the electronic communications sector that Cable Bahamas Limited has met the conditions for the conclusion of the auction following 112 rounds of bidding. In each round of the auction, Virgin Mobile Bahamas Limited and Cable Bahamas Limited had the opportunity to submit financial bids. The Phase 1 score of each bidder was combined with its respective Phase 2 score based on its bid amount to produce combined scores which determined the standing high bidder for that round. At the end of the auction, the standing high bidder was determined to be Cable Bahamas Limited, having submitted a financial bid of $62,500,000 and obtaining the highest combination score of the two bidders. Now, there are remaining conditions for licensing. In accordance with the request for proposals, CBL must honor its commitment to have at least 51% of the shares put into a new company, which will be granted the license, and that company must be owned by a 100% Bahamian-owned company. Although CBL will have management and board control, it must honor its commitment to become a party with the holding company. CBL must also comply with other provisions in the proposed shareholders' agreement. The license will be awarded to the new company for a 15-year period, and CBL's final bid amount will be collected from that company as a spectrum license fee. Now, should the remaining conditions for completion of the licensing process fail to be satisfied, then this may result in CBL's disqualification, and in such circumstances, the government may declare the next best candidate as a successful applicant, which in this case would be Virgin Mobile Bahamas Limited. The focus of the task force will now shift to engaging CBL regarding the above preconditions, whilst at the same time soliciting eligible Bahamian investors for the holding company. It is anticipated that the new company will be licensed by the end of this year. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
All right, Clint, thanks a lot. Noted attorney Maurice Clinton back in court today for his contempt of court hearing. And as Fern Carey tells us, Clinton is maintaining his innocence to the charges.
No, is how Maurice Clinton QC pleaded in contempt proceedings Monday. He is facing 13 allegations that arose out of his conduct before the court back on September 28th. During today's proceedings, Court President Justice Anita Allen detailed the 13 allegations, noting that Clinton failed to accept the ruling of the court that Justice Conte's term in office had been lawfully extended. Back on September 28th, Clinton claimed that the panel, which included Justice Allen, Justice Neville, and Justice Abdullah Conte, was not properly constituted, as Justice Conte is now at the mandatory retirement age of 70. Meantime, Justice Allen noted that on the date in question, Clinton disrespectfully responded to Conte, who had put a question to him by saying, quote, "I'm not even speaking to you." And after she attempted to clarify an issue concerning Justice Conte, Justice Allen said Clinton responded, quote, "I'm listening to any childish proposition." She noted that Clinton refused to put himself on record during the appeal in a drug extradition matter, turned his back on the court, sat down as she was speaking to him, packed his bag, and then walked out of the courtroom as Justice Neville Adderley was speaking to him. Clinton was later arrested while outside the precincts of the courtroom and detained at the Cable Beach police station. Justice Allen also noted that Clinton willfully and intentionally interfered with the administration of justice, and his insolent behavior opened the court to ridicule and disrespect. Meantime, Clinton acknowledged his conduct but said he did not intend any disrespect. His attorney, Wayne Monroe, also argued that the court was not properly constituted back on September 28th or at the present time, and as a result, he said, there can be no contempt of it. Monroe also made an application for the panel of President Justice Anita Allen, Justice Abdullah Conte, and Justice Neville Adderley to recuse themselves in order to prevent the perception of bias. And when asked if Clinton's comments and conduct were respectful to the court, Monroe responded that Clinton's comments were not the most pleasant way to say it. However, in the context, he said he understood. The court will rule on the matter on October 26. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Authorities are investigating a fatality today in the area of the Bahamian Riviera. We're told that a Canadian visitor was at the roundabout at Bahamas Boulevard after 2 p.m. when he was struck and killed. Traffic Chief Superintendent Craig Stubbs was on the scene.
Eastern Manor apparently had experienced some mechanical problems, and as a result he lost control. He jumped the median and he struck the male that was standing there doing some photography. The EMS came on scene. They attended to the male, and they announced that he had expired as a result of the trauma he received to his lower extremities.
You buy Platinum Bride Couture, downtown Nassau on Parliament Street. Begin your happily ever after at Platinum Bride Couture.